done a little bit more editing on the Aolong GTS model, and the main piece that I've edited for now is the edge piece. I went with a stickerless design, so it splits into half now, and it actually splits into three, not exactly into half. So the edge head will split into half, and then the root is a separate piece on its own. This is, in a way, this is the male edge with the male part on top here. But then I use the female part at the bottom here because the edge roots is going to have male parts on both sides, so it will connect to this one and the other edge. So I'm going to show you the other edge, which goes something like, okay, this is the edge root, so you can see this is the male parts that goes both ways. Not really noticed, there's actually a very big hole going right through the edge. So if you were to look a little bit carefully, this is what occupies the hole, and this is actually the magnet rod of the MGC Elite. So I basically just okay, I think any kind of magnet adjustment system would work, but I just feel like putting the MGC Elite system because I know exactly what it shapes like, so I can actually put it in SolidWorks. So if you were to look at this piece again and the magnet rod at the same time, like, okay, so the edge root has this extended part, and by right in the actual MGC Elite, this thing is this added part on top here is made of a softer material that can stretch. So when you put your flat-headed screwdriver here and twist the rod around, it will actually stretch this thing around. This internal rod will snap towards two positions. One is the current one that you're seeing here, and the other one will be the same thing but flip 180 degrees. And what the MGC Elite does, which I didn't include in this model, that the MGC Elite has a magnet inside here. So I didn't put magnet slots, but the magnets are off-centered. So like the magnets, let's say if it's on top here, this position, and then you twist the rod 180 degrees, the magnet will go down here, and the corner magnets don't move. So the two positions will alternate between a perfectly aligned magnet and a slightly off-centered magnet. Another reference that I made to another cube, so if you remember what the original Valk looked like in 2016, there's actually a hole going right through the edge root. And my suspected reason why the original Valk was designed like that is because the whole root is basically a solid chunk of plastic. So like this particular part here is not involved in hooking, because the role of hooking the edge piece under the corners is done by the torpedoes, and the torpedoes do have substantial area already. And then the role of hooking the edge under the centers is done by this part here. So this wall, in a way, is just to hold the edge together, and like it's quite big, and you can actually just drill a hole in and still have it to be quite stable. So I think that's the original Valk really just put a hole here to reduce the weight of the cubes just slightly. Yeah, I just put it here to reference that. And if you go and take a look at the Valk Elite or the Valk Power, or maybe both of them, I think the hole still exists, but it's quite filled up, so you don't really see a hole going right through anymore, but you still see a circular indent somewhere at this part of the edge. Okay, so the next piece type I have to show off is the corner, and I think this is actually my favorite piece type out of it, but going into the basics first, this is just the basic corner. I also went with the same split design that any stickerless cube would have, but I also put holes in this area of the corner. And okay, I could have put more anti-stick design on the roots, but sometimes, like, okay, I actually tried doing that, but SolidWorks didn't respond too well, so I'm going to leave it out for now. But like, if I were to really build this cube for real, I would probably find some way to put the anti-stick design in the roots. Right now I'm just putting the anti-stick design on top. So okay, the next thing I'm going to go into is just the overall construction. If you remember the magnet rod in the edge at the corner, so this entire rod is supposed to be housing the magnets. So okay, basically this is actually not quite correct, because I'm assuming that it's central, but by right it's supposed to be off-centered, so it's supposed to be moved like slightly up by 1 millimeter. So this whole area that is highlighted is not supposed to start off at this dot here, but it's supposed to start off at this dot here instead. And when that happens, it's off-centered, and you can have an off-centered magnet inside the rod to switch it around, and the corner magnet is fixed. But basically, because the magnet needs something to sit on, so I went to extend out. Most cubes avoid this because the magnets are not centralized, but since I put a centralized magnet rod and I still want to build the cube in a stickerless manner, I decided to extend out one semicircle from the corner, and from the opposite side I just cut a semicircular hole, and that's the reason for that extra curve. And if you piece everything together, it will fit just nice. So yeah, that's for the magnet slots of the corner. As for how it works, as for how the stickless design works, I basically just went with the same 4-piece. I mean, the stem and the roots of the entire corner is just one piece altogether, and then the head was split into 3. And then, like, okay, once again, these things, I'm not exactly too sure what's the ideal proportions to make them, but I'm just trying to make them smaller so that they don't clash, but it's meant to fit into, like, multiple corner pieces are meant to fit in. And another thing to know that is that modern cubes also do this. They have this stock that comes out of the center stock right here, and what these pegs do is they fit into holes at the back of the corner piece. So I'm just going to show like 1/3 of the corner head, and like there's a hole right here for the peg to fit in. So the head will lock onto the root, this part here, and the head will lock onto other head fragments with this part here, and it will form quite a stable locking system. So I'm just going to show you 2 fragments or 2 sections of the corner head, and you can see that these things at the back are interlocking behind. The final piece type that I'm going to talk about is the center, and this one was very fun to make. It was, okay, I would say it's also quite an annoying build actually, because SolidWorks ran into a lot of problems, and I had to find, like, they couldn't allow me to execute certain functions, so instead I had to use alternative ways to get those functions out. From the exterior appearance, you can see that the cap is rounder than the actual centerpiece itself. This is a design that I took from the WRM 2019, and also I think some gun cubes and the Meilong also kind of featured this, but the Meilong actually just used a thick cap and they rounded it off more on top and less at the bottom. But the reason behind this is because since the corner is squared off, it's more likely to catch against the center, so I purposely made the cap thicker than the squared off portion of the corner and rounded it off more. So here it's rounded off less and it's compensated by an equal, or actually a bigger area that is rounded off more, and whereas this part at the bottom here will coincide with that other part of the corner when you reverse corner cut. Okay, then going into the actual piece itself, it's quite obvious that I went with the dual adjustment system, and here, unlike the one that I showed for the MGC5, for that one I actually went to put this ridge system at the very base of the piece, whereas for this Aolong GTS build, what I did was I tried to follow closer to the GTS tree, which basically use a rim around rather than at the bottom, and the ridges are on that outside rim. Basically this piece here, opposite ridge pattern, and it has 2 holes here for the tool to fit inside. That is all to the Aolong GTS. I'm totally not worried about companies stealing this design, because after all, none of the ideas I showed here are actually original. It's more like the combination of these ideas together. It's just a statement to show what I want to see in a future 3x3 maybe. Because right now all these ideas exist, like this magnet rod comes from the MGC, this hole comes from Valk, the dual adjustment system from the GTS 3. The very name of this model itself, I call it Aolong GTS, obviously because it's this idea, which is the double anchor, which is, I mentioned more about it in video 1 than in video 2, but like it's the whole main mechanism feature which has yet to return. So yeah, I would like to see a cube with all these features together.